My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Today is July the 17th, 2021, and, it's Saturday. Okay, and sir, what is your name?
My name is Gilbert, yeah.
What is the address here, Gil?
9300 Northwest 41st Street.
And what is the name of the headquarters again, please?
It's the Miami-Dade Fire Headquarters. Okay,
and Gilbert, when is your birthday?
June the 5th, 1961.
Right. And what branch of the service did you serve in?
Army.
Okay. Okay, and what year did you go in the Army?
1980.
Okay, and where were you at that time?
I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington.
No, what I mean is, where were you prior to the service?
I was going to college in St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay, in Florida?
Yes.
What college was that?
At St. Petersburg Junior College at the time.
Okay. Did you finish your degree there?
No, I did not.
What were you studying?
I was studying architecture.
Okay. And why did you choose that branch of the service?
There was an ROTC program there, and I started attending some of the meetings, and so it led me in that direction.
Okay. And what branch was that again? Was it the Army?
Yes, it was the Army.
Mm-hmm. And so where did you go to basic training?
Fort Benning, Georgia.
And how long was basic training?
It's like 6 weeks.
Okay. How'd you get through it? What were the instructors like?
Infantry basic training instructions. They were definitely old school, just like the old movies, yelling, screaming.
How'd you get through it? I mean, did you have any issues? Anybody get hurt? Any casualties? Any fatalities in basic?
No, none. I think of my class, everyone graduated.
Everybody made it? Okay, that's good. Okay, so that was 6 weeks. At the end of the 6 weeks, did you go home on leave or did you go straight to tech school?
I went, back then, basic training AIT was one station unit training, so we remained in the same location. That was entirely basic and AIT.
Gotcha. Okay, so how long was the tech training?
After that, I actually attended the airborne school.
Oh.
So I just moved from one side of the base to the other side of the base.
And how long was airborne?
3 weeks, and 0 weeks, 4 weeks.
Were you jumping out of planes?
Yes, I was.
How did that treat your knees?
It takes its toll the older you get.
Yeah, I know. I've forgotten. Okay, so, and how long was that?
That was 3 weeks.
Okay, and at the end of that 3 weeks, did you go home on leave or did you go to your first duty base?
I went home on leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then only about a week, and then I went to my first duty base.
Which was where?
Which was in Fort Lewis, Washington.
Right.
With the 2nd Ranger Battalion. Prior to going to the battalion, I had to go what's called Ranger Indoctrination Program, or currently RASP, Ranger Assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And once I completed Ranger Assessment, I got assigned to Bravo Company.
Okay. By the way, were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
You enlisted. Okay, so Bravo Company. So, and you said Fort Washington. Wait.
Fort Lewis, Washington, was Bravo Company, 2nd and 75th Infantry Army Rangers.
And how long were you there?
I was there for 12 months.
How did you get through that? What was that whole experience like?
How do you say, how much misery can you take or endure?
Right. So tell me about it. Let's talk about it.
It actually formed the basis of a lot of things, who I am and my thoughts,
right,
and my abilities, because it did push me to places that anything after that it was not.
It showed you what you could do as far as your limitations, and you were
your limitations and past your limitations.
Right. Exactly. Okay. All right. How was the food so far? How was the food through basic training? How was the food through tech school? How was the food?
Basic training, AIT, the food as Army, anyone will tell you it's not the greatest food. Once I got to my permanent duty station, I think we had the best chow hall on the base. Everyone used to go there for it.
Right. Okay. How many chow halls were there?
Well, every division, every corps had their own.
Right.
It was actually a new building, but there was always a line at ours.
Okay. Why was the food so good? Who were the chefs? Did you know them personally or what?
Not personally, but we had chefs that actually went through Ranger School,
Uh-huh.
and I think maybe their budget was a little extra. You got, and at least once a month they had like steak and lobster and ice cream machines, and so we got treated very well.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. That's good. So after that 12 months, leave, or did you travel anywhere while you were stationed in Washington?
Just for training, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Georgia.
Okay. How long were those trainings? A week, 2 weeks?
Only 2-3 weeks at a
At
time.
a time? Okay. And how were your instructors, like in basic training and through all those trainings? How were your instructors?
Well, instructors were good. Through basic training, AIT, our one school.
Right.
The Ranger instructors for Ranger Battalion, they were senior NCOs at the time with a lot of experience. They were good. I mean, I think it was one of the most professional units that I had because I did go to a regular unit. After that year, I did go back to a regular unit.
Okay.
And there was a big difference in the personnel, the attitude,
Okay.
overall, professionalism.
So you didn't have any? Did you have any problems with other military personnel up to this point?
No, actually, my company commander at the time, Leslie Brooke, and George Conrad was my first sergeant. First day at my unit, he approached me and he actually looked at me and asked me, Ranger, what color are you? As a PFC going in, and my company commander confronts me and said, "What color are you?" And wasn't able to answer him right away. And he looked at me and says, "You're green. Everyone in this unit is green. I don't care where you're from or what you are. You're green."
Yeah, that was one of the good things about the service. As we all went through, when you would run into leadership that had that kind of attitude. Okay, so after that 12 months, what was your next duty base?
I spent few months in 9th Infantry Division. Was also an infantry unit, but I switched over to anti-tank. So I had to get qualified as an anti-tank gunner.
Okay, and that was still in the state of Washington?
Yes. It was.
Okay. How long was that tour?
That was only about 8 months.
8 months? And what was that like? Anybody get hurt up to this point? Any casualties? Any fatalities?
Just heat casualties, no fatalities at this point.
Okay.
It was a different environment. It was
Mm-hmm.
a totally different environment. Even though it was a volunteer army, the reasons that people were there were a lot different, more diversified.
The reasons that they were there?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, a lot of people at the time, the country economic issues, they needed to find jobs, support their family.
What year was that?
School. That was in the 1980s.
Okay. Okay.
And whereas the unit I had left was volunteer, and just the process alone, like my class that I went through, we had like 40, and only like 14 of us graduated.
Wow. It was pretty tough, huh? Yeah. What was so stringent? What was so difficult? Was it physically or mentally?
Both physically and mentally. You had to go days without sleep. You had to be able to take leadership positions. They would come with you anytime. And what's your mission? What you do? You plan. Okay, you're now in charge. What's your next mission? And you had to plan it even with like 1 meal a day, 3 hours sleep.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that was a way to like weed people out.
Yes, and the entire time they were telling you to quit and how badly you wanted to be there.
Sounds like Marines. Air Force and the Navy combined. Okay. So and how long was that tour? 8 months, you said, or?
No.
No.
For that?
Yeah.
Okay, that was 3 months.
Okay. And you're still in the state of Washington, right?
Yes.
Did you travel anywhere during that 3 months?
No,
Any
not doing
Trainings out of state or
no,
anywhere
we're,
else?
We're entirely in Washington.
Okay. So where'd you go after that 3 months?
Okay, went to 19th Infantry Division and spent a few months, and then I PCS'd, orders PCS to Fort Richardson, Alaska.
Oh. And how long was that tour?
That was my last year in the military.
Was it?
Active duty,
Active duty.
yes.
Okay, so all told, how many years did you do active
I
duty?
had 3 years active duty,
Okay.
and then I joined the Florida National Guard after.
Okay, so Alaska. What was Alaska like? What was that tour like? What were you doing?
I was in infantry. I was assigned to Charlie Company,
Uh-huh.
172nd Brigade. And there were 3 companies, 3 battalions. Every Charlie Company was an airborne unit at the time. And our mission was to secure certain key areas along the Alaskan. In the event, it was a Cold War.
Right.
And in the event that...
Cold War.
Yeah, literally cold.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the weather. You know, how was the weather? How long were you there?
Yeah, I was there for a year.
A year. So you experienced. Was there actually a summer or not? You know.
Yes, it was actually. Alaska is a very beautiful place.
Right. Yeah. We could tell from the visuals.
It's a very beautiful place. We did a lot of art, learned how to ski, mountain climbing, how to survive basically in the cold weather.
A lot of survival skills.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. How was the food up there?
That was pretty good. It was not bad.
Okay. Did you go on leave at all?
Not until I left. It was just way too far from Alaska down to Florida and too expensive.
Okay. All right. So you said down to Florida.
Florida is my home record.
Oh, is it?
St. Petersburg.
That's right. Got past me. Got you. Beautiful. Okay. So you just decided to stay up there the entire time, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so after that tour, you separated
Yes, I separated from active duty.
and you went back to,
The Florida
okay,
and Florida National Guard.
all right.
It is an infantry.
Where? St. Pete?
Actually, Miami.
Ah, so
Moved to
you
Miami.
moved, relocated,
Yes.
and you didn't go back. Did you go back to St. Pete at all? You just go straight
I
to
just
Miami?
visited because I still had family there.
Right, okay. All right, so you in Miami, and you said the Florida National Guard?
Yes.
Okay,
Continued as an infantryman with Charlie Company, 1st to the 124th Infantry.
right,
While I was there, I did go to Panama twice actually, and was also activated. Was in Hurricane Andrew where I got activated,
uh-huh.
and did support civilian authorities.
Right. Okay. So, there you go. What was I going to ask you? Okay. So you did you're just in the guard now.
Yes.
So you go once a month
Yes,
and 2 weeks a year, right?
that's correct.
Okay. So, and what was the job that you had now?
I was in infantry
Okay.
at the time.
Still.
I did that for another 10 years.
Okay.
And then they started I was on intelligence, the 260th Military Intelligence Battalion,
Uh-huh.
which I then put in an application for, got accepted, and that was the rest of my career doing counter-intel as a 97 Bravo counter-intel agent.
Okay. Okay. Counterintelligence. Wow. Fascinating. And is that what you did for 10 years?
Yes.
Did you get to travel at all?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you go?
I was activated. I did go to the Balkans for Kosovo.
Oh, all right. How long was that tour?
That was 10 months.
And what was that like?
It was a very eye-awakening experience.
In what respect?
It's an opportunity to go to a different place, different culture, actually attempt to help a new country being born, really,
Oh, okay.
because you have to learn about the politics, working with different NATO countries, the civilian police, civilian infrastructure, working with Norwegians, the Swedes, the British, Italians, the French, Germans, trying to help a country rebuild themselves.
Right. So what was the status or the people that, the civilians?
They're very welcoming because Milosevic at the time, if you're familiar with the Balkans,
No.
had his
Who was that?
militias. Milosevic was a president after Tito died.
Okay.
Milosevic, they transfer power between the different Balkan states.
Right.
And Milosevic tried to have genocide. He was trying to eliminate the Bosniaks.
What was it?
And
Ethnic cleansing?
Ethnic cleansing,
Mm-hmm.
which, until you've seen it firsthand, you don't realize how much it was.
You mean how horrible?
Oh, yes, horrible.
Yeah.
I have family members, the mass graves, and then our job as an intel was just to track down and locate individuals responsible for war crimes.
For the crimes?
Yeah, for
The crimes of genocide?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So, so you witnessed a lot of that, huh?
Yes.
I guess I take it for granted that you've seen mass graves? Or not?
After, months after.
Yeah.
So it was, yes.
Okay. What was the process? Once they located a mass grave, did they dig them up, or?
Yes, that was definitely the UN, someone else's area. My primary responsibility was locating, tracking down war criminals, as well as issues with human trafficking, because the Balkans became a conduit for human trafficking.
Right. How much success did you have with that?
We did identify a few individuals, and after I came back, I heard that one of the individuals we were looking at actually turned himself in, because we were like right on top of him everywhere, right behind him, and he finally turned himself in.
Got a little nerve-wracking for him, huh? Apparently. So the pressure. So how did you? Okay, so it sounds like, especially in this segment, there's a lot of stress and pressure. How did you handle the stress and the pressure?
Well, I think that a lot of that's attributed to my initial qualification or
Training?
selection, especially through basic training, AIT, and then Ranger Battalion.
Okay. Did it prepare you?
Yes, it did.
It prepared you for this?
Mentally and physically.
Okay. All right. I don't want to take anything for granted.
No.
Okay, so you weren't in combat, but were you ever in combat?
No, it was considered a combat area, but
Right.
it was not.
So you're in a combat area.
Right.
Did you witness a lot of casualties coming in from anywhere?
Actually, the only real casualties we had at the time was one of our NATO allies actually killed some of the U.S. UN police that had just come into the country, and they were training, and he ambushed them.
So it's friendly fire?
Friendly fire.
Oh boy. How many people suffered from that?
We had 3 UN police officers, multiple wounded.
Wow. Did they survive?
The ones that got wounded, but we had 3 officers that died. Because it was friendly fire, it came from inside the compound. It took them a while to figure out that it was actually coming from inside the compound.
Jesus. Okay, so there's wounded and then there's fatalities. So how many wounded were there? You don't know?
Recall exactly how many.
Okay. Any guesstimate just off the top of your head?
I know it was a bus. They had just finished the training, and they had stopped at the gate for it to open up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to remember the crime scene and the crime scene photos at the time.
Right.
I can't remember exactly how many.
No, I understand. Just stop and think for a moment. You might jog your memory, or I'm sure that a lot of this stuff maybe you don't even want to go back and think about it too much, I guess. But okay. So I guess, did you have everything that you needed throughout your career especially during this period?
Yes, I believe as well as it could have been planned, or as a typical any major deployment or maneuver, it's hurry up and wait.
Right.
One hand doesn't seem to know what the other, but it's weird, because the higher up you go in rank, you start to realize what actually goes into it and why the delays and how much. As a private, you sit there and you sit for hours. What are we doing? Why
Right.
are we here? And as you move up the rank and you start working in headquarters and division and corps level, you actually see why,
Okay.
what goes into the operation, what the bigger picture is.
Right. So you understand the I guess I'll just call it the different lulls in time.
Yes.
And I guess a lot of it really, at the end of the day, you just have to develop skills as far as being patient,
Yes.
right, and waiting skills. Okay. Okay. So All right. Any other places that you traveled that you haven't mentioned so far? I don't care whether it was your personal leave, personal vacation, where you got to travel, or whether it was your job in the military.
Central America, South America. Went to Panama Jungle School. Went there twice.
Oh,
Once prior to the invasion of Panama, once after the invasion of Panama.
right.
That was also having foreign country, different way of life, different. Although we spent most of the time in the jungles, went through jungle school.
What country were you in?
Panama.
Panama. Okay. And so, what was that like? What were the people like?
People are very friendly. You can see how much the influence the U.S. military has on areas that we actually have bases in.
Okay.
Whether it be Europe or Panama, or any Latin American, Central American country that we have an influence.
Okay. All right. So, Panama. Any other countries? You saying? Did you go to South America?
Yes, actually, I visited Ecuador.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Different culture, Spanish, different accents,
Right.
even though it's Spanish, and completely different cultures from one country to another.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yes. They all have their different variety of cultures and dialects.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's that whole indigenous population on top of that also. So that's another world. Okay. All right. So, after you separated, what job did you have in civilian life during the 10 years?
Well, during the 10 years, when I did my scores, one of the things I asked what my ST scores were, and they said it's your problem-solving ability, and what for intelligence, law enforcement. So I did put an application to the Miami-Dade Police Department and became a police officer for the last 25 years.
Wow. Okay. All right. What department were you in the police department? As a regular police officer,
Yes.
or?
My first 6 years was in uniform patrol
Uh-huh.
in the South Dade County.
Right.
And then after I had deployed, actually after 9/11, been deployed for a while, came back, and they were starting their intel unit, Homeland Security Bureau.
Right.
And because of my background in intelligence, I got transferred back over to intelligence for the Homeland Security Bureau.
That's what I thought. Any particular areas of concentration?
Mostly counterterrorism, but it's all we deal all crimes, all hazards, all special events, any threats to public officials, threats to the community, which is very similar to what we did in Kosovo as a counterintel agent. You deal with force protection, which are threats to the military, and it's the same process: threats to the military or threats to the base, as threats to our community, from either domestic or internal or external.
Okay. So what was the, I'm really curious, and also it applies, the question applies also to the military. Have you experienced any racial tensions, either in civilian or in military life?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Different areas, people make comments. I have to say, it was kind of a shocker for me, because I grew up in a society initially where we did not look at race as an issue. And when I was with the Army Rangers, they didn't look at race as an issue.
Okay.
We had guys in there with the Confederate battle flag in the rooms, but I can tell you, I would have given my life for them, and they would have given their life for me.
Okay.
It wasn't an issue with race. Because I guess once you go through a lot of hardships with individual,
Right.
you look at them as an individual, as your brother, not as a different race.
Sort of like that foxhole mentality.
Yes.
Right, where you have the other person's back no matter what.
No matter what.
I understand. Okay, what about in civilian, being located in Southeast Florida? How has that been?
I've had times where people make comments. Even while I was in the service, we had servicemen, not in the special units, but in the regular infantry units. There was some division, and it varies depending on what your job was.
Right.
As you know, everyone has a different MOS. You have the infantry, artillery, clerks. It's just a cross section of today's society.
Right.
So depending.
Military is like a large
Yes.
corporation. Right.
So there, whatever happens in the civilian world happens in the military.
Mhm.
And so depending on the units, the infantry had a mentality, the armor had a mentality, the cavalry had a mentality, your clerks had, your medical facilities, all different cultures, different views, different treatments.
Okay, so just on one last note, as an Asian American, how do you feel? What is your opinion of the situation in the country today, in the United States, as far as treatment of those that are of either Asian American or Haitian American or Latin American, indigenous, and so on, Black American?
I think we've come a long way, but we still have a lot to go.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 1980s, there was a lot more, even though it wasn't said, there was a lot more discrimination, racial issues and stuff than there is today. I think today we're a lot more accepting. Not everyone, and like I said, we do have a long way to go.
Right.
Things that I encountered when I was younger, like people throwing trash at me and calling me names just by walking on the street, to today's world where you see more integration between the cultures. And I think one thing that the military has taught me is that the foxhole mentality.
Right.
It's people who are racist or stuff, it's more lack of knowledge or ignorance on their part. And I think if you put them in the same foxhole table, they're going to learn to love each other. And they're going to learn to live with each other.
So there's might be a situational remedy, huh?
Yes.
I understand.
And it's just, hate does not solve anything. It's educating someone and showing them you're a person just like they are.
Right.
That's what makes a difference.
Okay. By the way, so moving right along, did you ever use your GI Bill for anything? Education or housing?
No,
or anything?
I did not.
No?
I did not.
No. Did you go back to college at all?
No, unfortunately, I did not.
Okay.
I keep saying I should, but
All right. But you're still working now. So you did 25 years with the police department.
yes, I am about to retire in another 5 months.
Oh, you're still with the police department.
Yes, I am.
was thinking fire, but
Yeah.
never mind. Okay, so so you're up for retirement in a few months?
Yes.
Excellent. Congratulations. I'm sure you deserve it. Okay, so let's see. Oh, did you have a problem at all staying in touch with your family the entire time you were on active duty, or when you were away on guard duty in the National Guard? Do you ever have a problem?
In the beginning, yes, because back in those days we did not have cell phones. We did not have, so it was writing a letter, sending it off, waiting a few weeks for it to get there, another few weeks to get back, and even from the 83s, from 93 to now, there was a big difference.
Right.
Now everyone has cell phones. Everyone can call home anytime. Before it was go to the MWR, stand in line, wait for the phone.
NWR?
Morale, welfare, recreation.
Oh, MWR. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So communications is easier to access today as it was back when I first went in.
Okay. I just have a couple more questions for you. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yes, gave me a better insight on things, especially working in the intel field like I did, because you did see a bigger picture. Working in division and corps level and national level, it did give you a different outlook on people and things and why we did things.
And last but not least, how did your service and experiences affect your life?
I think my basic, it shaped my attitude on a lot of things. Not to quit, keep trying, no matter what the odds are. And one of the reasons I joined the military here was because I came as an immigrant, and I wanted to repay the country.
Okay.
And I believed in its meaning, the freedom, the opportunities it offers. And that was my way of giving back to the country that took me in.
Right. If you don't mind my asking, what country is your country of origin?
Jamaica.
Oh, then right, you did tell me. I think on the phone. In the West Indies.
Yes.
Okay, fine. And your parents? Where were your parents born?
They were both born there, but my father was sent back to China when he was very young.
Okay. Why?
And so he was the oldest son. He had to go back to there.
Oh. What was that all about?
I'm not sure. He went there when he was young. I think they sent him back when he was like 5 years old, and he came back as a teenager.
But I'm just trying to. I'm very curious. Why would he have to go back to China at the age of 5?
Yes. He was the firstborn, the first son. He had to go back to learn the culture.
So that was
It's a cultural.
that was a cultural responsibility, commitment.
Yes.
Wow. And his parents had to let him go back.
Yeah, they sent him back there.
They sent him
with
back.
His family, yes.
My God. Ooh. Okay.
And
That's
it was a different time too, because you're talking about the 1950s,
Right.
and late 40s, 50s after war, and part of the Cultural Revolution in China. So he was never educated in Western. So when he came back, he had to relearn English. He did not have a formal education. Yet he worked his way, worked hard.
Right.
6, 7 days a week, 14 hours a day.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the things that's beautiful about this country, and why I served it, was because it gives, no matter who you are, where you're from, the opportunity to become what you want. All it has to do is it's hard work and not quit.
Okay. Well, does there happen to be anything else that you feel like you may have left out, or anything else that you wanted to share with us?
No, people thank me for serving, but I thank this country for serving. It gave me the opportunity, it shaped a lot of my character, and not quitting and keep trying. That's why I'm here, that's why I serve the country.
Okay.
And I think not everyone is cut out to become or be in the military, but it gives you a different perspective of what we're here for.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for a great interview, and I also want to thank you for your service.
And to thank this country. Have a lot more respect and understanding of what this country has to offer than a lot of people that were actually born here. I'm sorry to say, but kids that are born here and privileged life or benefits of it don't realize what's out there, and don't realize what this country has to offer them.